for the last visit. 2 days back, before he came, teachers had told us that, we don't think Sadhguru might be able to make with you, and they took our picture with our class picture with his photo frame, and we were so disappointed to uh, know that he's not going to come. And we were, I mean, the last 2 days it went into that kind of a depression kind of a thing, like he's not going to come, he's not going to come. The feeling was always there that we are going to miss out, we are going to miss out on something. But still he made a point to come, at least for whatever time he came, he made it. And I know when he just came in, I saw him up close here, and I was like, the only thing that came into my mouth was like, thank you for coming, Sadhguru. This was the last time I wanted to see you before going, at least. And
Namaskaram everyone. Welcome to my channel. So today we are having a conscious conversation podcast with Radhika. So Radhika and myself had completed our teacher training course together. So this podcast is very, very special to me because it's not just that we completed our training together, but we were best friends there. So I was able to find a best friend after such a long time because I passed out my college long back. So after that, I would say that this was the Hatha Yoga teacher school where I again found a very nice friend there. So very warm welcome, Radhika. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram. Thank you, Payal.
So I'm really, really looking forward for this conversation. We had talked a lot of in our teacher training together, even though the course was too intense and there was so many activities every day we used to do. Still, we two used to get a lot of time together to have a conversation, and we used to talk a lot. I especially love to talk. So I will tell her all the gossips, whatever is happening in the Hatha Yoga school. So I was a news channel.
Yeah, I remember I used to say, how do you know each and every person in the class?
So I especially love having a conversation with people, and that's what I'm trying to do here in this podcast. So why don't we start with introduction, Radhika? So tell us about yourself, your family, and what do you do right now? So we can start with that.
Okay. So, yeah, I started from what? I was born and brought up in Kolhapur in Maharashtra, which is in India. And I have a family of my mom and dad, and one brother, one sister. I'm the elder, and uncle and cousins. We used to have a joint family. So I've been brought up in a family of around 10 members to start with, at least. So I had a big family like that. I went to the school only in Kolhapur itself, and then completed my college also from Kolhapur. Thereafter, I came to Pune for job. So I have done my computer engineering from Kolhapur, and then I was working as a software engineer in Pune. For around, I think, 7 to 10 years, I was in Pune. Thereafter, my husband got a transfer and the company transferred to the US. And that's how I came to Florida in 2013, end of 2013. And since then, we have been here. I worked for in the US as well for around, I think, five years. Yeah, and suddenly I came across Hatha Yoga teacher training course. So before that, I have done Shambhavi, but that was when I was working. And then I went for a Hatha Yoga teacher training course for 5 months, where I met Payal. Yeah, and once I returned, I never really rejoined the company. I've been with my practices overall till now, and I'm taking the classes on and off in my home itself, some private classes, and that's about it. I'm just being at home now since then.
Yeah,
What?
Radhika tried to summarize his journey like in 2 minutes,
Two
the whole
minutes.
journey. Uh, so why don't you tell us about like how was you as a child and about how was your relationship with your mom and dad and with your siblings? So why don't you tell us that?
As a child, I was really a very quiet child outside. Like at home, not. It was like a different scenario altogether. So we were four siblings as we were growing. Like I had two cousins and one of my sister. My brother was very young. He came in late. So in all five, but while in growing up years, we were always four of us. And I had a very good relationship with my parents, but as I said, I was very quiet child and I was by myself most of the times. And I was good in studies. I was a very sincere student, and yeah, so that was it about what else do you think?
So like so growing up, would you ever incline to like you will consider yourself as a spiritual person? You were very looking forward for something like you were
Uh,
in search for a guru or in search of pursue of the truth, you know, we are in the pursuit of like that it was at the initial stage, or how was it?
Nothing like that actually. I used to, say to my mom, like, don't tell me to do all such rituals and all things in my home. I don't like to say no. So don't ask me to do all these rituals. But I was never like more of a spiritual oriented person or anything like that. But related to yoga, I remember my dad always saying that. You're very flexible. I want to put you to a gymnastics class. That was what I used to hear from him. I was flexible, and but then there were not many gymnastic classes around our in the town that I stayed in. It was a very small town, so there were not such facilities at that time. So I never went to any gymnastics class. But then I used to have sports classes, sports sessions in my school. Those were only 2 days in a year. But I used to win all the running competitions and all those things. So I was active, but very quiet again to myself. I was not too talkative also.
So when many conversation we had, I remember you telling that you always had a vision of what you wanted in life, and so talk us about like how did you, how what was your vision when you were young, and how did we can talk about that journey that you had about your clarity that much you had like at a very young age, like what you wanted in
I,
life and
I really never had a vision as such, like what I wanted to become and all. I never had any such thing in my mind actually. It was like, I just want to have a enjoying life. That was what all I was looking for. So I never actually had like, suppose like, others also have like, I want to become a doctor or I want to become a teacher. I never had anything as such. It was never clear to me what I wanted to get to. So I just went on as the course came by, like I completed my studies. Then somebody says, whoever is good in studies, they usually take science field. So I went for science stream, and then I was not that much interested in being a doctor or anything like that. I was scared actually of all those operations and all that was thing. Even of the injection, still I can't look at the injection and all. So then obviously maths was the option. So I took mathematics, and then we were just walking by to my home, and one of my friends says, my brother is a computer engineer and he is in America, and it's a very good field, and there is a lot of scope in being a software engineer. So I said, okay, why not? There is a lot of money and fame and everything. So I just joined computer engineering, and my marks were good. So I got the admission and all. So it was quite a easy journey, I would say. Not completely easy, there were challenges, but still it was as and when I however I found at that point of time, whatever was conducive at that time, I just did that. Accordingly, yes, I did software engineering job, and then obviously there is a dream for every software engineer. We want to go abroad at least once and all those things. I too had those dreams. So then we came here whenever we got an opportunity, and then since then we are here. So now also, uh, after 7 years or staying here 5 to 6 years, I started feeling a kind of a void here, and that's why my journey began with Isha Foundation.
So I know that you have a love marriage. So why don't you talk about like about your marriage and your child?
So I met my
And
husband in my engineering college. It was so again, as I said, I was very quiet and by myself. He was in my class till third year, and I never I didn't know him. So in the third year, I came to know him, and we started talking at the end of the third year of engineering. And by the fourth year, we were out of the college after fourth year, and he was. Pursuing competitive exams. So he went ahead to Delhi and Mumbai for all taking all those courses and all. He was also like a software engineer, but he wanted to get into civil services. So that's how we met there. It was a very brief kind of story. We didn't have much in that. And after I think 3 years after college, we got married and then had a child. Again, it was not too much of a we kind of a love story or such. It was normal. We both were of the same religion, caste, so that was not a problem again for marriage in my home. Everything was okay. Like it was good.
mm, so when did you came across like Isha Foundation or Sadhguru? So when did you came across that for the
So
first
yeah,
time?
uh-huh. When we came to US, it was all new, and I had been waiting to come to US also. So I started my job. I had my daughter go to her daycare here. It was a very good place, and then I enjoyed driving on this US highways and all. I had my own car. Everything was going on very nice. And then I got my parents here. They visited us, and once they left, right? For me, it was like, okay, this is it. This is what I had thought of would be a good life and all. Everything is has been achieved. As a feeling as such came to me, and everything started looking like the daily course, and nothing new was there. And there was nothing to chase as such. No big dreams or anything. So most of them maybe because I always had this material goals kind of thing. I wanted to have a husband, a child, and a house, and suddenly I started feeling a void inside me, kind like there was nothing to look forward to. And then I came across Sadhguru's videos on YouTube. Like everybody seeks everything in installments, and I remember those inner engineering introductory videos, like glimpses of that. Actually, not the full introductory video was there at that time on internet, but just the small videos of him saying that everybody has their own currency. Somebody seeks in terms of money, somebody seeks in terms of pleasure, somebody seeks in terms of knowledge and all. And these are just the everybody's currency to get to the the unboundedness of your existence. So that somewhere clicked me, like okay, I have been also trying to go using one of the currencies, one of the other currencies, and it's not leading me anywhere. And many of I started hearing him a lot, and hours on end I used to hear to him. And
Which
that's how
year was it?
it
Which
was, I think, 2016 or so, 16, 17. So I heard him for around 2 years. I never did anything. I was just hearing his videos. And then finally I decided to go for inner engineering course. So I found out that there is an ashram here in US in Tennessee. I never knew about all these things. And then I went there. There I completed my inner engineering course, and that's how my journey began with the Isha Foundation.
So, what was your experience about the Tennessee ashram as well as the inner engineering course, if you can talk about that?
Well, the experience was super. Like, I feel that the person that I went there and the one which came back was completely different. It was a different perspective towards the life altogether. Everything had changed. The way that I was looking at different things, it all suddenly changed. Everything started looking new and very much obvious, that how am I making problems out of the normal situations and all. And I started slowly and steadily, I started applying all the principles that were taught in inner engineering course. And till date, I feel, inner engineering is the thing to be done. Like, I know there is hatha yoga, there are many kriyas, but one who follows inner engineering principles, he can lead the life very nicely. That is what I feel. So that was the most important step in my life that I took towards spirituality.
So, so the five principle of inner engineering that you were talking about is really what I feel is every day after the inner engineering happens, they tell us to do the 2-minute crash course of inner engineering, and I usually do it every day, and I feel that I think if we able to implement these five things that has been taught in the inner engineering, our life will be sorted. I think there
Yeah,
is no another problem in the world which
I
can't be
know.
solved,
I have
which
been
can't
also
be solved.
talking, discussing it with my husband. Like, inner engineering course should go as a curriculum in the colleges, actually. Like, in the higher secondary, like 11th, 12th, in everywhere. People just need this course very badly, I think. I mean, I
Uh,
think if I would have gone through this course before, I would have handled my life very differently.
yeah,
But yeah, better late than never.
yeah. So I think we can put I'll put into the description of the inner engineering link if you wish to apply to it, because now inner engineering is available online. So you can, definitely you can look for that because it's a wonderful course that has been offered by Isha. So yeah, so how was you did in Tennessee itself the course? So how
Yeah.
many days the course was, and how? What about the people which were taking the course? Can you talk about that? And then how was the ambience of the ashram? So you can just
Yeah, so I went for a retreat, a 4-day retreat. One reason was that I wanted to see the ashram as well. The Adiyogi statue, I was very, very much interested in having a look at the Adiyogi statue that they have there. And I had heard a lot about it, how they got it from India, and what all things they face, challenges to bring such a big statue here, like in Tennessee. It is a 21 feet Adi Yogi statue here. So then I wanted my daughter and husband also to visit. So we all went to Tennessee ashram. It was very cold, though it was April, it was colder for me. And but it was really peaceful and nice. The food there was awesome as usual in the ashram. The food in India ashram is also so nice. In Tennessee also it was really very nice. About the course, it was very nice. Like, they were very particular about the timings and all that. Like, they made sure that each and every participant attends the course. They didn't um, nobody was late to the course. They made sure that nobody is late. They didn't leave it up to the participants, actually. They made sure the volunteers were so prompt in actually waking you up also. They made sure that you're not late to the course. The overall ambience, it was very, very nice. It never felt as if, Sadhguru was not there at that time. Like, the full course is like he is talking to us, and the teacher was just a medium or a conductor of the course. So it was completely like he is taking the course with us, all the videos and all. Since we know the format now, we have inner engineering online and completion is a separate thing. So that all came as a package in that retreat. And it was a good, like, it was not too much in a hurry or anything like that. Leisurely taken course, and I enjoyed every bit of it. The volunteers, like, they used to come there from different places. One of the volunteers who was there, I remember I met him in the Hatha Yoga teacher training course. He was one of our batchmates, by the way. And he was like,
oh,
yeah, Ansh, I think. So
Ansh.
yeah, so I have seen you somewhere, and then we got to know that he came as a volunteer there in Isha. I didn't know anything about this ashram and all, but It was quite a popular thing at that time, it seems. But yeah, so yeah, the course was really nice. You should see the places around there in the ashram as well. There is a very good waterfall to go to. They took us for a hiking in between in the retreat. So since it was a retreat, it was very leisurely planned. They gave us time off also to be by yourself and roam around in the ashram. So it was very, very nicely spent 4 days in the ashram.
So, talk us about like Mandala. How was it for you after you completed in engineering? What changes did you find in yourself and your total experience?
When I came back, yeah, I started the mandala right the day after I we reached here. And one thing specifically I noticed with me is I used to get wake up a lot during the night because when I was a child, as a child, or even until I got my first child. So when since I was young, I had never had any problems with my sleep. I was a very sound sleeper and very nice and deep sleep I used to get, and I used to enjoy that. So somehow after I had my first child, I never had a very good sleep as such. I used to wake up a lot during the nights also. One thing I noticed is the day I started inner engineering, like Shambhavi Mahamudra Kriya, my sleep went back to what I had when I was as a child. Continuous sleep with not much dreams. I mean, not dreams. I couldn't even remember any of the dreams. It was a very sound sleep that I started getting because of Shambhavi. And I still see a difference. Like in the mandala, we do it twice, right? The quality of sleep that I get when we do Shambhavi twice, and the quality of sleep when do it only once. Now, since we are doing it only once with all other practices, it's really different. So sometimes when I really want to see that, I just go for twice a day Shambhavi, and it brings a lot of difference. It makes your body so restful. That is the one thing that I noticed very, I mean, particularly about me, because I liked sleep and rest a lot when I was young, and it gave back that to me. After that, I think other things were like I became more aware about many of the things which I was not before. I started taking interest in all the little things that I used to do in everyday course, like even while cooking, rolling a chapati. That was a different experience altogether, because it made me more focused in each and every activity that I did. And we realized that these are simple things that we used to do before also, but the complete involvement in each and every activity that you do, it brings a lot of difference in you, and it percolates in all the activities that you do. It's not only related to one area of your life. It percolates, the benefits percolates to all the areas that you are into.
So after you completed the mandala, also you continued the
I,
Shambhavi, doing
I
Shambhavi
never
daily.
stopped. I never stopped doing Shambhavi till date. I mean, I never, um, I hear many people just leave it half away. They go for even 3 months, 4 months, and then they leave doing the practice. I never left Shambhavi. I couldn't. It is like tied to me, something like that. There were highs and lows, of course. After a few days, you start feeling like, after 6 months of doing the course, I was like, why am I doing this every day? And these things come in. I was loosened up a little bit, but I never gave it up. I still used to do it. Like even if I felt that, why am I doing this? I just used to remember Sadhguru's words. No matter what, you should just do it. You should just do it. Don't think. You should just do it. I kept myself up during those days. But I really now realize that that was the best thing that I did to myself, continuing with Shambhavi.
So then how did after that what courses you did, and then how did you came across Hatha Yoga teacher training?
Yeah, so I was after that I explored a lot into Isha, like what all courses they offered, and there were meditators here. When we go to satsangs, we get to know many people in inner engineering satsangs that we have on a monthly basis. So many people told me about there are these courses like Bhavaspandana, Shunya, and that was along the Kriya side, and then I never knew about the Hatha Yoga teacher training or anything. So I just knew about these Kriyas and all. I wanted to do Bhavaspandana, Shunya, but I never still got an opportunity to go
Yeah,
to that.
we both did not did
I
it yet.
know, yeah, and I've been telling you, like, I applied twice when Sadhguru was going to take it by himself in US. He had arranged it twice, and I applied thrice actually, and I applied all the times, and I never get got through it. I don't know what the selection process is, and I keep on telling that I think it's still not time for me to do Bhavaspandana or even Shunya for that matter. Then suddenly I came across this teacher training flyer that this year teacher training course is starting, and I was like, let me at least see what it is. I just flipped over through that flyer in January, and then it was back of my mind again. Never I came across it. Suddenly, in April, end of the April, that's when I remember I completed my 1 year of inner engineering. All of a sudden, I started pursuing, like, I want to go to this teacher training course. I don't know what motivated me or anything like that, but I suddenly started chasing it a lot. I got all the information, and it was within 15 to 20 days that I saw what is the prerequisites. So I never did a Hatha Yoga course as well, any Hatha Yoga course. There used to be sessions like Surya Kriya Yogasanas which were arranged by the foundation, but I never went to it. I was doing my own Yogasanas postures that I had learned back in days. In India, there used to be 1 month course and all. I had done those courses, not Isha, non-Isha courses, and I used to practice those not frequently, on and off at this point of time. Initially, I did it a lot, but then, yeah, at this point of time, I was doing it very infrequently. And then I saw that there are some prerequisites. I immediately flew to my friend's place there. I got the prerequisites done, and immediately the time I came back, my interview was scheduled, and it was around 15 to 20 days only, I think, a matter of these many days that I even resigned from my office. Pursued for this course directly. We went for a summer vacation to India. I went with my daughter, and till the end the day I was like to go or not to go, but then still I was chasing it. It was always going on, but because of my daughter, I think I was like a bit in two minds whether to go for it or not, because she was only 7.5 years at that time, and she had never stayed one day up away from me. Like every day, now I don't even remember one single day when she was away from me. Only during actually the retreat course where we went, that was the first time when the on the first day we didn't get an accommodation, a common accommodation in the studio accommodation in Tennessee, and that's where they stayed in a hotel for one day. That was it. That I know that she had been away from me. So I was quite in two minds whether to go or not and just do the courses. And there was a 21-day course also, I think, instead of 21 weeks, which we had this teacher training. But finally, somehow, it was my husband supported me a lot in, motivated me, I think, pushed me to go for the course more. So it was because of his support also that I could make a decision.
Actually, I really want to say one thing here is like, always people say that for every successful man, there is always a woman. But I think if this is true or not true, I think it depends. It's not necessarily, I feel. But for every successful woman, always there should be a man if she is a married woman, because,
And that's true in my case, actually.
yeah,
Whatever.
that's what, like, I know because of that, like, we don't give that much credit, like, we both actually got very connected to each other during the training, was because of the one reason is we both had a child, and
Right.
I have like 5 years and he was 6 years, and you were like 7.5, and mine was like 5.5.
Yeah,
And we left our child and then came, and then our husbands were taking care of them when we were not there. So I
right.
think that's a very special thing that husbands did for us, and that because
I know.
of them we were able to do, you
I
know.
remember one other thing that was common with us is I would like to mention, I don't know if you want to put it away in that, but Payal and me, we both didn't change our surnames after our marriage.
Marriage. Yeah,
And
yeah,
we
yeah.
used
That
to
is
have many such things in common with us that we know that we never changed our surname. Somehow we wanted to maybe maintain our identity somewhere that, oh, why should I change my surname? Something like that. We gave different reasons for it, like, oh, documentation and all these things. But somewhere we wanted to, I think, maintain our identity. I remember Payal saying at the end when we got the certificate, you know what? I think I should have changed my surname so that my husband's name or surname would have been there on the certificate. And I really felt the same. Like, it was as much as a contribution of them
yeah,
as much as we did. That
definitely.
was really necessary, and maybe in future we can get the certificate changed file.
Actually, yeah, always I had like that, because I was very particular because it was a love marriage and different caste. So I always was very particular of not changing it until date, and but this was like something I wanted to do for him, like saying that because of you I was able to do this, and this is like kind of tribute to you, that I would be, so I had a first time, and I think in this course I was able to like identity where that got somewhere, it is not that important because I did
I
not wanted to associate myself to something, because mother to the world, so kind of that
things
happened
got
to me.
lot of clarity.
Cleared
This, yeah,
clarity.
this course had brought about a lot of clarity to everybody I know, but especially for us, it was like, oh, we have been holding on to this
So
identity a
many
lot.
things. Lot.
I know.
So yeah, I think your husband is like, even like for me in my case at least, there was a family support for him, because I have a joint family here right now as well. So even though he was taking care of my child, there were many peoples also for supporting him. But I think hats off to your husband, because he had to cook and then take care
One
of
of
your
the,
child and
yeah.
everything. So when you were not, so what do you want to say about it for
A
him and
lot.
for your daughter?
How much ever I talk about him is would be very less. He has done tremendous, I mean, what an awesome job, I would say, because the first thing that came to my mind was always that, since I am going, we'll call either my parents or my in-laws and to help with the child and house chores and everything so that, it's not all upon him. But he had his own opinion. He said, don't call anybody. I want to take up this on my own. I want to take care of the child on my own. Growing up, my daughter was more connected to me. I don't know why, but she was more. Anyways, usually children are connected, but she was like more too much connected to me. She was a sticky kind of a child to me, and he used to try a lot to get to her and really be friendly with her, but she used to play, but she used to always keep him at a bay. So he was like, this is the opportunity that I'm getting. I don't want to miss this. I want to create a bonding with her because growing up I want her to be the same way that she is with you. And he took it up as a challenge for himself, and he said, I was like, I wouldn't have done this, if at all you were supposed to go anywhere, the first thing I would have done is call either my parents or my in-laws, and I wouldn't have taken up this challenge. Even now I say I will not take up the challenge. Even as a hatha yogi, I will say I will not. But I don't know, he took it up, and he was doing a full-time job. On top of it, he took care of my daughter. The cooking also he did by himself, all by himself at home. And I was very fortunate to have two of the Indian families nearby, in here, who helped a lot. They are kind of an extended family, I would say, here in the US. But he managed everything by himself. On top of it, he had a new role to play in his office. Just the time when I decided to go for my course, he had some additional responsibilities that he got in his work. So again, it was like more challenging for him because it was not a regular work that he already had that those responsibilities. So it was a very tough job, I would say. He was on the go because my here, in US it is much less help in terms of house chores that you get. In India, at least, it we have many maids and uh,
Yeah.
people around to help, and it is close knitted, the neighbors and all. Here it is not like that. Everything, it's only you are supposed to take care of everything, the cleaning of house. I mean, there are people, but that goes out to be more expensive stuff.
Mm.
So people, Indians, usually tend to do it by themselves, and he used
Themselves.
to do it all. So it was more of a work being here and taking care of a child, doing his own job, and the additional responsibilities. It would have never been without him or even my child that I would have done this course. Complete peace of mind when I was doing that course. Just even my child, I mean, she never ever cried on a phone or said, "Mama, just come back." She never said in even once during the course. I don't know why and what strength she had at that time. Only on the airport was the time that she cried in front of me that I don't want to go and you please come with me. But that was it. After that, she never even said once that, you come back. I want you here. She was always saying, okay, when you come back, we will do this. But she never said, just leave the course and come back. Because one sentence from her and it would have created a lot of effect back in there when I was in the ashram, even from him. He went through a lot in his office also during that time, which I came to know only when I came back, but he never shared it with me. Just because he wanted me to have the course done very peacefully and the way I wanted it. It was all a very peaceful kind of a thing for me in the ashram, with him being here with my daughter and taking care of everything. I really think I wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Some people are made to do all these things
You know my story. It was the reason I did my course is because of my husband. So I
because of
think, yeah.
him.
So we
Yeah,
owe our course to our husbands
yeah.
actually for this.
I
Yeah.
know.
So it was very beautiful. So when your daughter did, you had very beautiful conversation with your daughter when you shared about your course. So you would like to share that? Like, what did she said that when you shared a news that you wanted to do this course, she was okay with it, or how did she took it?
Yeah, so for the first time, she actually, it was like she wanted to have a pet since she was 4 years or what. I want a dog, I want a dog. And that was the only thing that she used to say all the time. And I said, okay, first thing that she said, okay, if you're going, get me a pet. I want to be with a pet dog even in that case. So, yeah, that was her first reaction, obviously. She was initially, she didn't know what she was committing to, actually. So she said, okay, you can go and all. And I said, we haven't stayed away from each other. So the first thing I wanted to try, it's like how these people even they can they even manage few days at least without me, because it has never been like that before. So that's why what I did was, for the prerequisite course that I had to do for hatha yoga, for this teacher training course, I had to do one hatha yoga class. So I decided to do Surya Kriya. What I did is I flew to New York to one of my friend's house there, and though the course was over a weekend only, Saturday Sunday, I booked a ticket for a week, full week. I took work from home from my office, and I said, let's see if you could manage it for a week, and then we will decide if I have to go further for the course or not. So I went, and that whole week she was all okay, and even like we got to know what all things need to be taken care of if I have to leave. So that was quite a good preparation. We got to know a lot of things. Like he was managing with his office, with the daughter, all by himself during that whole week. And when I returned, she didn't even come to receive me at the airport. She was like with her friends and said, "Yeah, you go and get mama, that's okay." And I was surprised to see this with her. Like, she has not been without me even for a single day. And how come she is so flexible? So, with my daughter, I have seen at the time, that particular time, she is very emotional and everything goes. But once it is, she accepts something, she's just through it, then she doesn't look back. And that was a really good thing for me to learn from her, actually. Like, this is one of the things that Sadhguru also talks about. This moment is inevitable. After this,
Yeah.
you just it is by like you always see what you can do about it, not about the things that have happened. And she taught me this. I actually see these inner engineering principles coming up like this, and I was very happy to see that she is, I mean, following it unconsciously maybe, but she is into it. So the biggest thing was at the airport. So as I said, we went back for a summer vacation in India, and then I said in these 2 months, June, July, I'll decide if I have to go in June actually. So we came to India in June, and then I was still working from home, giving the kind of a support to my office people. It was like I have to resign, but it was, we were finishing up stuff. So I used to work and all. And then the day came when I have to leave. She has to come back to US. So somehow it was only two. My husband wasn't there. He didn't come to India. He was here because of some visa related issues. He never left the US. So it was me and my daughter only. And I had a challenge of getting her back to the US because I had to go back to Tennessee. Otherwise, I would have to come all the way to US and go back. So then there was one of the family which was also flying back from a summer vacation, and she was to go with them. Again, I'm really very thankful to that family as well. She took care of my daughter the whole entire journey. That was the first time she stayed without me, and she was doing an international travel without her mom, not even her dad being around. It was very brave of her, and that night I still remember, and it brings tears to me thinking of the that night that she was okay the whole day. Also, okay, I'm going to go all by myself, and you're going to Tennessee. She was okay, but just 4 hours before, the 4 to 5 hours before the flight, she it brought to her that what she was going to go through, and she all of a sudden she's became quiet. And
It's okay.
don't put this into.
It's okay. It's okay. It's absolutely fine because, uh, yeah, it's very emotional. Actually, you can take a minute.
Yeah, hold on, please. So
You
yeah. So yeah, she started saying that I don't want to go and you come with me. You don't go for the course. And then it was like I couldn't do anything at that time, and my in-laws were there with me, not even my parents. So you know how it is with at least with parents, you are like a little comfortable. Oh, nothing will happen. You just here they were also in tears, and she was also in tears, and I was also in tears. So it was a big thing at that time. But somehow, I didn't want it to break at that part of it. It was very easy for me actually to just, postpone the tickets and come back. And this thought crossed my mind a lot of times at that time also, because being in that situation. But then somehow, I don't know what happened, but there were this family which was going to be with her. They had four kids of them. So we just, I got her getting along with those kids and trying to soothen up the environment a little. And then she was quite okay when the kids were there around. Because she was a child, I think she was getting through it very nicely. And then finally, yeah, she left from there, and then immediately in the morning I had my flight to Tennessee. So that's how it was all. And once she reached here, then it was okay. Like she saw her dad, and then it was all okay. But that particular night, I could never forget about it.
Yeah. Actually, one more thing I personally feel about this is like I always used to feel that I'm very important. You know, I'm very, very important. Like without me, they could not live, and like I'm a very
I know.
important person. Okay,
Big
because but
realization.
so when I came there, and I'm like kind of person wherever I would be of that particular environment. So that is not hard for me. That is how I am made. So if I am there in the ashram, I became, you know, the ashram became the part of me, and I did not actually miss my home and everything. I used to miss my child, that is okay, but I did not like, I was very okay with it. But I used to feel like when I will not be there, people will understand my importance, how important I am, and you know, like this. And this all got shattered, to be very frank. And I felt that we are not that important. And even if we are there or we are not there, obviously, if we are there, the things would be different. And we add a value to something. But what we feel like a ego I had before with me, like I'm the most important person, and if I'm not there, the thing, you know, they can't live and all that got all shattered. And I
Exactly.
feel like, you know, Sadhguru has always said, like, if you're not there, it's like phew, and you are gone, and
God.
nothing will happen, and the world would be better place. So it's
Yes.
like you feel yourself like a very important person. I used to feel myself, at least for my family, I used to feel like I'm very, very important. But that thing has been gone now. And the last sentence also, when I was leaving for the airport, I told my husband, and now you will understand my importance, you know. You know, but not kind of that, like
I know.
that.
It's
But you know,
just
it's like that, like, yeah, now you will understand, you know, that was kind of thing always was there in my mind. And in last 1 year now, the course we are completed more than 1 year. I have never, now I never feel like, you know, it's something very that got shattered very much inside
yes,
me. Like,
yes, definitely. This dawned upon me also when in the ashram. So for me, it is very difficult to leave off the things. Like once I'm there, I'm not completely. I am there, but then I always have these things going in the back of my mind all the time. That when I was in ashram, I know I used to always talk to you. I'm really missing my daughter. I hope I was there. I didn't. I shouldn't have come to the course. You know, it was not her fault. Why did I leave her alone? And I used to be always in that guilt kind of a thing. But then during the courses, during this course, the videos that we went through, Sadhguru videos and all, again, it got me thinking a lot, introspect introspect myself a lot. And I really feel one thing to be shared is, I was saying that I'm missing my daughter, I want to be there, but I realized that when I was here, how much did I spend my time with her? I was always in my course, like doing my chores, like kitchen, all the time in the kitchen or my office work, and it was very little time that I actually spent with her. And now why am I so much like desperate, like I want to meet her? So it made me think, it made me see things more clearly and get to the, you know, the ugly truths that we have about ourselves. I got to those things that it's not about her being alone, and I was always putting like she is alone, you know, she needs me, and I am here, I'm depriving her of something, it's so bad of me and all. But it is actually about you, about
about
your
you.
needs. It
Yes.
is always about your needs that you're trying to fulfill, and you're trying to quote it with the
Yeah.
needs of other people. So I had
Mm.
heard this sentence from one another kind of a guru, or he's called as Smiling Swami. You
Mhm.
can search for him. His discourses are also very good. So I had attended one of his session, and he had said, everything that you do, it is for yourself.
Mm.
First, get to that terms. Whatever you do, you're not doing it for
For
anybody
other
else. You're
person.
just doing it for yourself, and you justify it by saying that it is for him, it is for her, I'm doing good, and all these moral things and all these things come. But it is basically for you that you're doing all this stuff. And there I came to this realization in the Adi Yogi Alayam, in the Alayam cottage, one of the afternoons, where I was thinking, like, this is my need. That why am I so desperate and crying? Because I am missing her. I want to fulfill something of me um, through her. And
Yeah.
I really felt very bad at that time. How can I be like this with my child also? But it is, I mean,
The ugly
whenever you
truth.
face it, the earlier you face it, it is better to come around it, and then you come together to just share and not, extract that. This one thing that Sadhguru always used to talk, this became an experience for me when I was in the course. Many other things, but this was a very big realization. And when I came back, then it was more of a kind of a giving thing.
Giving.
So for me, giving was not very easy. Like giving in any sense, donations, giving away money, or just giving to people was not very natural to me. I used to help people and all, but too much of a giving. I like giving gifts and all, but that is a different thing. I'm saying kind of a donation or giving yourself to somebody was not very natural to me, which I learned from this Hatha Yoga course. I would say big time I learned. I used to tell my husband, like, he's a very generous person from the beginning. He used to, like, whenever there is a kind of a donation, whenever you are going to pay a bill, it asks whether you want to donate something or not. He used to just donate, and I used to say, no, why to spend this much money here? And I was always of this. I want to donate only when I feel it from my heart that I have to
Mm.
donate. Otherwise, I will not donate. Just for the sake that they say donation is good and it is morally good, I'm not going to do it. After this course, it changed me in a different way. And the way that I wanted it, like, I am doing the donations just when I feel it from my heart. And even it increased that giving thing, it increased a lot in me after this Hatha Yoga course, I would say. Maybe the volunteers that we saw there, they were selflessly giving for all the things that should happen for us. It is a big thing to learn from them. So, yeah, this is a very big takeaway from the course, actually. Self-realization, introspection, and this giving thing.
So now, after that, you came to Hatha Yoga teacher training.
Yeah,
So,
Payal, you were, by the way, I would like to mention Payal is big time giving person selflessly, and I had
and,
been learning a lot from her. I used to see, and how come she is so much generous? It's like you should see her. She is always there for everybody. I remember
the,
many of such incidents where you were always there for everybody and trying to help others, and very generous person I have met.
thank you so much. I don't think so that much of me, but yeah, definitely. I feel I have that kind of nature that I really connect, and I think giving myself is something which I can do very easily.
Right.
Money is something which is, again, as you said, it was little more difficult for me as well, because I'm a Marwadi. Could be that be the reason, but yeah, I think that also got changed for a bit. Like for me as well, I think it got changed. I'm not too attached to money right now. Money is not the whole focus for me. But yeah, I can say that that thing I also can see in myself got changed. So now coming to the Hatha Yoga teacher training. So how was the training for you? So when you landed up, did you signed up for whatever is the intense program it is? So did you find it very difficult? How was it for you?
For me, I think with the asanas and all, getting into the postures was not that difficult. I mean, I was touching the ground with my fingers, and now I started touching it with my palms. That was it. That was the journey of me with the Hatha Yoga asanas and all. So physically, it was a lot of challenging and taxing, I would say, because we used to do it what twice a day. And I still say, whenever I feel like, today let's take a little rest, I just remind myself, In the training, I used to do it twice a day for 4 hours, and now I couldn't even do it once. That's not done, and I just keep on doing my practices with that motivation or that thing in my mind. But yeah, it was really very taxing. I used to complain, I know you for you. Why don't they plan anything? They should at least tell us 1 or 2 days ahead of time that what we are supposed to do. We had planned so many things, and I was very keen on, washing my clothes. And I know at that time I was always particular about having a schedule like this. Okay, after these 2 days, I'm going to have this thing done, and 2 to 3 days in advance, at least my plan was fixed. But in the ashram, I saw the screen is frozen, pile. Can you still hear me? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I can. Mhm.
Okay. So in the ashram, I saw that they never planned anything. I don't know why, but they never gave us a plan. I mean, they had their own plans, but they never shared.
Everything was very planned actually. To the
I
to the
know.
minute to the minute it was planned. It
It
was
was
just
planned.
that.
But for us, they never shared anything with us. Not even after 2 hours, what are we going to do? That also they didn't share with us. And this was a very, very big thing that we went through for all the 5 months, and it inculcated a thing within us, I feel, to take up the life moment by moment, as Sadhguru says, look at every moment as a fresh moment. This they they taught us this in a big way in those 5 months, and even now after a year I remember and I try to have that fresh look at every thing that I go through in my life. So they are like, in after the morning session they used to tell us, okay, let us go for a visit to this temple. Come on, get ready and be there in 1 hour, after, including the lunch, okay, brunch that you have. And I was like, how are we going to do that? But we all got together, and I remember your words saying that how are they able to get 165 participants all at a time in few buses and leave at the specified time that they have
Yeah.
mentioned. And when we are going out as a family, we can't even get these 4 or 5 people together and get to leave at a particular time. Still remember your words saying that, and
Yeah.
it's really awesome the way they have planned and they get the things working during the
Yeah.
course. Something to learn a lot. And I try to do it now back home when I come. I was very lenient with the timings, like we all know India time. We reach by India time. It's always half an hour or 30 minutes or 45 minutes later that we reach at every particular place. I try to, not fully done, I would say, but I try to bring that practice that now, that whatever time I give to people, I try to reach exactly at that time or at least 5 minutes earlier to that time. So this was one of the very good things that I learned from the ashram. And I realized the way they have designed the course, it's all to change you or transform you, not change you, I would say, to transform you from within, actually. So the course, physically, it was quite taxing, or maybe because for me, because of the age also. Like we came in, I think, very late. Our batchmates were quite young and below 30s and 25 years of age. We were only, I think, quite a lot towards.
Yeah, there were like people. I am not old. I don't know about you.
Not by heart, of course, but your body
I'm
talks,
just,
Payal.
I'm just, I'm just joking. I think for like it was more difficult for me physically than you because you are naturally flexible and everything. But I think my body supported me a lot, and I think I got too much changes I can find in myself very fast. I never thought that I
Of
could see in
course.
myself,
That
but yeah,
one practice of Angamardana taught you that how far you can go even if
yes,
your body is not cooperating, and you can make it cooperate with you. So
yeah.
that was a big thing that we learned. But yeah, for me, I think it was more because of the age also. The body started talking. I know we went to Rejuvenation Center there, which was a very nice place, and we got some oils and all, pain relieving oils, and I used to have massage every day with those oils and all, but it was taxing for me
Yeah.
a bit, though I was flexible.
one of the best thing about Radhika was like every day after the training. So we used to have all our courses empty stomach condition. So that is a necessary for Hatha Yoga. So at 5:30 the session used to start, and we used to complete our training by 10, 9:30, 10. So it was a standard timing of our like practices to complete. Sometime 10, sometime 9:30, 9. So that was the timing. And then there would be two batches of brunch. So there would be a first batch and a second batch. And Radhika would be definitely will go to the first batch.
Always the first batch.
Always the first batch and the first person to sit in the line of the queue to eat. So let's talk about how was the food for you, and how was that for you, like the food part of it.
Food part, yeah, that was a very good topic actually, Payal. Before coming for the training, I know I used to eat almost 5 to 6 times a day, and spacing it at 2 hours or 3 hours time. So since morning, tea, then after that I used to have my breakfast, then after that lunch, then again a little snack, then again a little snack, tea again evening, and then go for lunch late night. So it was always like that for me, and I used to think that I couldn't survive for more than 4 hours empty stomach. 3 hours is max. I couldn't survive. Is that was my feeling, because maybe in the my childhood ages, I was not that strong person, like very healthy kind of a thing. I used to eat very little, but I used to faint a lot during my childhood days, and that had something in my mind, like if I don't eat, I'll faint. If I don't eat, I'll faint. And that was what I was also talking in the ashram all the time. They keep us empty stomach. I fear I would just fall down here, because I had done that in my school. I used to stand for the prayers and the national anthem, and I would just collapse. I had done that in my school. So I was feeling that this would be the same thing that would happen to me when I'm doing the practices. Empty stomach was never a thing for me. I used to always, my routine started. Once I wake up, I always had something immediately within 15 to 20 minutes of woke up. In the ashram, I was like, how am I going to be here? Empty stomach and eating only twice a day. I had got a lot of stuff from my mother-in-law in my room. So, even if something they don't give me to eat, I'll just make sure that I'm eating and I'm full. But all that remained as it is, I would say. Not much of it I could finish, because the schedule and the food that they gave, it was highly nutritious food and very well planned to meet each individual's requirement, every individual's requirement, I would say. All the 165 participants were very comfortable with the food and the diet that they gave us in the ashram. And it
So
was
tasty and healthy. I think.
tasty and healthy. I felt like I'm, filling up the missing blocks in my body, the nutrition blocks with the food in the ashram. I still feel that. Um, and so, yeah, I could survive very well with only 2 meals a day and a little light snack just for Hatha yogis. I know everybody else does it only twice a day in ashram. But I could survive, and that one more realization came to me is that, like, food is not the only source of energy for you. And I think Sadhguru also talks it. It's not only food through which you get energy to go through your
They.
life. It's all around. How much ever you want to capture, you can, and just go through it
Yeah,
nicely.
definitely. I think it was like for me, food. You know what food is like. Very, I have a very good connection with food, and I think in the ashram how they offer us the food, and the way we look to the food now also. I look to the food, and the feeling of the food getting inside me and becoming a part of me is such a overwhelming, feeling. That feeling is very overwhelming. I think the
Yeah.
how we look to the food is totally got changed after we eat that much in the
Definitely.
ashram. And yeah, so what was your best part of the training, so what would you say in the 5 month training, what was your best part, you will say, what did you like the most?
there is nothing to compare actually. Everything from day one was good. What I feel is, towards the end of the course, I started actually enjoying the course.
Yeah, definitely.
Only at the end, 1.5 months, I would say I was really into it. But yeah, maybe it took me three and a half months to transform to get to be in the current situation and fully focused and involved there and um, enjoy it. But yeah, the last few days or 1.5 month, the end of the training, I think it was most memorable, which made a feeling or brought about a feeling in me that this is kind of a second home to me. So those Sadhguru always says, this is not your home, okay? This is not your home. Just come and get the things and just leave. But yeah, after that, I always say, I say to my husband also, the ashram, by the way, it's more the ambience there in the ashram, the way the things are, the clothes washing place or the barefoot walking and everything. It is similar to what I went through as my childhood. Like I was born and brought up in Kolhapur, which is a very small town. But whatever was there during my childhood, I could see the same things in the ashram being there. So even it would be a very small thing, but the place where we used to wash our clothes, the stones that were kept there, the way they were kept and all, it was exactly like the one that I had in my home, back home. The tiles that they had in the ashram, in the corridors, the black tiles and all, it was the same that I had in my home back in Kolhapur. So the time I went there, I really started feeling like a home. And when I left ashram, I said, I got another, in Marathi we say maher, like my mom's place. It was a kind of a mom's place for me, one more mom's place to look back when I see at India. It is not only Kolhapur, but now this Coimbatore ashram. So the last 1.5 months, I would say, when we really started connecting to more and more of our friends also. I remember we never talked to most of them. I mean, you of course were well versed with everybody, but for me, I was not that much in talks with everybody. I used to be by myself there also most of the time, but I got connected to a lot of people, especially the Bay. The All of us in the Bay, we got connected really well there,
Yeah.
like celebrating birthdays in that little time that we got. Whatever we could do, we did, and I still remember those moments that we had. So
Mm.
yeah, that was really a nice. And then we had a Bhuta Shuddhi at the end, so I could really see these last 1.5 months were the most memorable things for me to take away from there.
What do you want to talk about our teachers that we had? So do you want to talk something
Very,
about,
very great.
different types of like Prashant Anna? We used to always talk about him. He was your, kind of in your training, what we have, our classes, test classes. So, and then other like Dupati Anna, and then all the teachers, in fact. So, Sheila Akka, all of them actually. So,
Right.
how was the experience for
Very,
you?
very, I'm very grateful to all the teachers, and all are so inspiring. Each and every one of them are so inspiring, and they teach us a lot just by the way they are. It's not only even before they speak or give any instructions, just the way they are. There is a lot to learn from them, and they are an inspiration there. Dupati Anna, just look at him and you know how much has gone into to make this person like. So that's one more reason I remember these people when I do my practices. Okay, one day I want to become
Like
like this.
them.
Yeah, so that's somewhere there and everywhere in our. Yeah, I'm really grateful to all the teachers and the way they have left behind. I think there is a requirement that you have to be a full-time volunteer there for around a year at least, I think, to become a teacher. I think in Hatha Yoga. I'm not sure about those, but I could even imagine like staying there again 1 year, leaving everything behind just for the sake of making it happen for these few peoples who are in the course. That's a big thing. really grateful to all of the teachers actually.
Yes, definitely. I think they are like very wonderful, selfless people I've seen in my entire lifetime.
Even, yeah, even the
Yeah,
volunteers. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
same thing goes with. They are also teachers, and they do so much of a thing for us. The entire team, Hatha Yoga team, it is like I have never seen anything like this anywhere.
Yeah.
So nicely planned and so selflessly giving.
So, would you like to talk about Sadhguru? Like
What do I speak about him?
anything? What does
Speechless
three
Payal.
things?
I can't talk anything about him. Yeah, but one more thing I would like to mention, Payal, before going to Sadhguru. I remember the Kund.
Yeah.
One
Oh
was
my
the
God.
more memorable thing, if you would say, Devi and the Kund and Payal. Whenever I remember Kund, I remember Payal.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
remember the time in the afternoons you used to ask me so many times, do you want to come to Kund? Do you want to come to Kund? And I was like, no, I have to wash my clothes and I have to clean up things. I want to take rest. Who is going to go to Kund now? And Payal, without fail, you used to go to the Kund every day. And I know I used to tease you a lot on this. Who is this Kund of you? And all those things. But yeah, I remember that, Payal. I want to mention that a lot. I mean, even now I tell my husband, she was so much into going to the Kund more than Dhyanalinga or Devi temple also. She was more attached to that Kund, I would say.
Yeah,
I
I every day
remember,
visualize it now also.
really.
Yeah. So that is my thing in the morning when I start my everything. Like I'll revisit the whole ashram and I make sure I go into the kund and come out of the kund.
Oh my God.
So
I know,
yeah, I think I
and
think I have a very special. What I feel inside the kund is something which is very different than more than what I feel into the Dhanalingam or Devi
I
temple.
remember giving you an idea also. You know what you should do? You should make a small tank in your home and put jivarasams everywhere, 5 to 6 jivarasams, and enjoy your kund at home. I used to always come about with these ideas how you can replicate the entire ashram at home.
Yeah. So I know that you have a great hobby of creating pictures and everything. I will share the photos that she drawn about Sadhguru. I think she's a wonderful artist. I feel a very artistic person. I have a very good drawing. I could say because I've seen the pictures, so I would share that. So do you want to share anything when you draw something like Sadhguru or something? What does go into your mind and what is the process you do or something like that you want to share?
Yeah, not only Sadhguru, actually, Sadhguru, yes, anything which inspires me, I try to recreate it in my own way. I think that is a pattern now I'm looking at. So, Sadhguru, okay, I see him, I drew him on the picture. Even the Adi Yogi pictures that we have seen, I know in Spanda Hall we had one of the
Yeah,
Shiva Singh picture, and
you used
that.
to draw it
I
in the
drew
free
it. I
time.
have. I'll share that picture with you. That was my first drawing in there, in the ashram. And I remember, I wanted to draw Devi, and every time I used to go there, I saw her, and I used to observe each and every detail of her. And I used to this small incident I would like to mention actually. So I used to draw that, and only the little time that we got before the session started, and I drew that and all those things. And somehow I was not remembering what was there in here, like eyes, eyebrows, everything. I remember something was there missing. Did she have lips and all? I was not remembering at that time. And when we were doing bhakti sadhana, I suddenly remembered. Oh, there is a this
Nose J, no,
nose ring there, and we finished the bhakti sadhana and I came, and we were still in the ending part of that, and I came, I opened my book and I said, before I forget, I want to draw this nose ring of hers, and I completed that drawing and I kept, and I totally forgot about it. And after the class, my Bay volunteer, she came, coordinator, she came and what was going on, Radhika? I said, what happened, Akka? Wow, everything is good and all. What were you doing during Bhakti Sadhana? I didn't recollect. Like, what was I doing? I was doing Bhakti Sadhana. You were not doing Bhakti Sadhana. She was like, you were doing something else. And then I recollected that, oh, I drew something. That was at the very end moment. But then I realized, they are watching over us in so detail, each and every one of us. They are keeping a track of what we are doing, and they want us to do the right things so that we benefit completely out of it. So yeah, I the thing is, I'd like to recreate such things, all the different things. So I told you also that I wanted to recreate Devi and Dhyanalinga at my home, and I want to make kind of an ashram. And I'm in a process actually. Sometimes I violate the rules, which I felt when I did the Devi. I made a Devi, Linga Bhairavi Devi out of clay at my home, and a 3D form of her, and I created the entire. I can show you actually. It's right here. See this one. The
Yeah,
entire temple is still there in front of me as it was. If you
it's
see there.
beautiful. Yeah.
Devi and one of the lady which is in front of the temple. I actually recreated it all. I made this during the Navratri this season. I wanted to make something this Navratri because last time's Navratri was completely
It's
different in the ashram and it
different.
was
Yeah.
mind. Yeah, I
Amazing.
I remember that. So during these 9 days, I actually created the Devi out of clay, the Trishul in front of her, how it stands there, the thread on the mala on the Trishul, and the lady outside the temple. I created the entire temple, the walls behind her. Most of it I tried to recreate, and I created it. I've shared the pictures, but then I got to know that we are not supposed to create any 3D form of Devi. So I just immersed her in water and let her go. But then a 2D form is what I put in the temple now. There, all other accessories and all are there still, but the Devi statue I replaced it with a 2D form now. I know after this, I was in a process of creating a Dhyanalinga dome, which I want to, and I wanted to create Dhyanalinga miniature Dhyanalinga 3D. I searched it in Isha Life actually on the website, and they don't have any 3D forms, which I got to know from one of the sharings in the group that we are not supposed to create 3D forms. So, okay, I have a 2D form pictures which I got from, but I'm in a process. I know still pending. I have to create the Dhyanalinga dome and I have to place the 2D photo at least inside there. I really want to create a kind of an ashram ambience here.
Yeah. Actually, we everybody who been to ashram for some time really craves something inside and really wants the kind of ambience at our homes. But I think we are the one which should get transformed. That is the thing.
Right.
But yeah, definitely this things helps us. Like I have a goodie and I can understand how in front of a goodie, if you do something, your practices and everything, how it is different than when you do it at some other place. And I think I got much aware about the ambience, how the space is so important, which was I was completely unaware before.
Unaware of
uh,
really.
yeah. And now I'm doing my vlogs as well. Like I have done one blog, and I really like the point of doing this all is like going to different space and like trying to experience with your eyes closed. It's so amazing. You
Create that
kind
space
of,
within us actually.
yeah, it's amazing. So yeah, now you can talk about Sadhguru.
Speechless, still speechless. I can't talk about Sadhguru, but I remember, one of the words that Sadhguru says, it's not related to talking about him also, but he says, these question and answers, all these discourses that I give, these are for people who have questions in their mind and they are always trying to look outside for something. Once you turn inward, all the questions are burned out. When you really try to transform yourself and turn inward, the questions burn out and the need for talking and speaking spirituality goes away, and that's what happens with each and every one of us. I feel like we can talk but only only this much. It is like that. Like you can't talk much about him. You can't talk enough about him. I would say how much ever you talk, it's very less. For me, or for everybody, he has been everything. Like Mata Pita Tum Mere, that song is just explains everything about him. Can't thank him enough. I can't talk much about him. Yeah,
So when
I
he
can't
visited
say
us,
enough.
like when he visited us, like we are not that fortunate enough actually, because he was very busy at our time when we were in the course. We were able to meet him like twice, thrice.
That too
So
for very less time, I know.
yeah, yeah. So what was your experience? What was happening inside you at the last day? So would you able to try to share that when we get our certificate before that, when Sadhguru talks, we got
Yeah,
our Kamal Phool, you know.
the last day when he came, my eyes were totally like on him. I didn't wanted to miss even a second being with him. I was always in the mind actually, but how to be with you, Sadhguru, how to be with you, Sadhguru. You always say, be with me, and this question always remains, how to be with you, how to be with you. It's always there in the mind. But yeah, that experience was something different. It was very overwhelming, though. I mean, I was aware quite a lot at that time also, but still it was very overwhelming for him being at such a. I remember he was not going to come for the last visit. 2 days back before he came, teachers had told us that, we don't think Sadhguru might be able to make with you, and they took our picture with our class picture with his photo frame, and we were so disappointed to uh, know that he's not going to come. And we were, I mean, the last 2 days it went into that kind of a depression kind of a thing, like he's not going to come. The feeling was always there that we are going to miss out on something. But still he made a point to come, at least for whatever time he came. He made it. And I know when he just came in, I saw him up close here, and I was like, the only thing that came into my mouth was like, thank you for coming, Sadhguru. This was the last time I wanted to see you before going, at least. And he listens to everybody of us. I know that everybody of us was asking for him, like, please come and meet, please come and meet before we leave. And he listens to everything that we talk in our minds, and unconsciously or consciously, whatever, he listens to everything. That is what I feel.
So after course now you have taken some classes even of your family members even outside. So how is your experience, and now you are doing full time and hatha yoga teacher and not continuing with the job? Do you feel like you're missing out, because definitely it's building up now what we used to earn as an IT professional. And so what do you want to say to the people who are watching, about this? How is it going for you as an experience as a teacher?
Yeah, so when I came back, actually, I really wanted to explore into how it would be being a full-time Hatha Yoga teacher also. But unfortunately for us, the COVID situation started immediately the time we
Mm.
returned, and we didn't really get to, have full-fledged classes as such. So it is always have been a private classes for me here, because people want to maintain distance, and then the venues are also not open for us to book them and have big classes as such. So I didn't take any much big class. I was part of only one Bhuta Shuddhi class where there were 10 to 11 participants. That is the biggest class that I have taken, not me conducting, one of my batchmates, but we together, both of us did it. So that was the only big class that I had till now, but all the other private sessions, it is a different experience. And there is something to learn from each of the class that we take. We get to know the participant, and we get to know different situations through which each and everyone is going through. And we feel we are so there are so many things to be grateful for. And the same thing comes on to you, like you have so many reasons to be grateful. So this never happened when I was in the IT profession as such. I was just going about, but through the daily chores. But now it's like more, I really want to do the job one more time just to see that how am I really transformed, and how am I going to conduct my job one more time. And I think I would be able to conduct it differently than I was before. So, but yeah, I wanted to get out of some of my compulsions. Like, I wanted to be at home without earning. That was one of
Mm.
the compulsions
Mm.
that I had. Like, the time I left my college, I was into my job, and I never left my job after that. I've been
Yeah,
continuously working
same.
with, and it something was like, why am I doing this job? That was one of the question. Also, am I doing it only for money? Am I getting fulfilled? And that was how it triggered out actually. So when I returned, I made it a point, a little bit at least, to let me stay at home and see if I can stay without earning. I should be comfortable without earning as well. Not that if you need, you do it. But then I found now that, I really had that passion towards work also. So let's see how it goes. But this whole year has taught me a lot to be comfortable with whatever you choose, and be joyful and not desperate to do something.
Mm.
It is, I'm trying to get control over the you'd say the mind, but these hatha yoga practices and the teaching that we do, and it all builds up and gives you a strength and control over all these uh, different compulsions that we have.
Like if people have to come for you like a private class there, if they there are online options as well as this thing. So so can you share, so like how they can contact you through, do you have anything like Instagram and Facebook or anything that you
Uh,
can give,
yeah, I
and
haven't
email
created.
IDs?
Yeah,
Mm.
so I haven't created any website as such as of now, because it was COVID times and it was not full-fledged, and
Mhm.
really didn't wanted to make a profession out of this also, not
Mm.
exactly full-fledged profession, but wanted to remain in touch with that also. So I haven't created any website as such, but people, those who have come to me for classes and all, they see me through the Hatha Yoga Teacher
Fine.
Finder app, where I have
Mm.
they mentioned all my details. So they usually email me. So I can give you my email. You can just put it in the description if you want to. So they
Mm.
usually contact me through email or my phone, and which I have shared with the Teacher Finder app also there. That is that those are the actually the modes currently. At least I'm in a process of making a website, but not very near to completion. It's just in the initial stages.
Okay.
So nothing as of now to share. Is just email and my phone number.
It was great talking to you. I think when I approached Radhika, like let's have a conversation, she was like, I can't talk, I can't express myself. I think you have wonderfully expressed yourself without any hesitation, I felt, and it
Because of
was a
you,
wonderful.
Payal. Because of you, you got me talking.
We always used to talk, anyways. So it was a wonderful, Radhika, to talk to you and to know you more. Like I know you, but still, to know you more and your wonderful journey. I think thank you for accepting this and talking with me. Namaskaram.
Thank you, Payal. Thank you very much for having me.